Hi students, welcome back to Infinity Learning Space. So, today is a continuation of what we did last time on the business level capstone case study. As you all know, we already have the pre-scene and we did the first session of the pre-scene, which was an introductory session where we walked through some of the key එහෙමත් නැත්නම් කේස් ප්‍රීසීන් එකේ අපිට දීලා තිබ්බ වැදගත් ඉන්ෆර්මේෂන් වලින් භාගයක් අපි බැලුවා last session එකේ. So in today's lesson we're going to look at the rest of it. So again, this is just an introductory session where we'll be touching upon the most important topics, but later on we'll be going into a detailed analysis. Okay, so before we start, a quick intro again. This time the pre-scene or the first pre-scene for y'all for business level is from the apparel industry, and it's of a garment factory or a company called Nisala Garments. So we looked at a brief introduction into the company, into your role that you are playing in the company, and today we're going to look at how the factory's operations have been mapped out and how the factory layout is sort of being explained to us in the pre-scene. So as you all can see on the screen now on the top, I've listed out how usually the operations work for Nisala Garments. Nisala Garments eke from the beginning to the end, අපේ operations වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා on a high level මෙතන map out කරලා තියෙනවා. So අපි බලුවොත් from the beginning, usually the operations start. අපේ trigger point එක තමයි when a PO is raised from a customer. So we know that we have a couple of customers. We have some supermarket brands. We have some retail fashion brands. So when they raise a PO, තමයි Nisala Garments එකේ operations start කරන්නේ. So that's the starting point. We don't just manufacture orders, but we manufacture our clothing for a customer order which is triggered by a PO. එහෙමත් නැත්නම් purchase order from the customer. So when that happens, අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? We import our fabric or we procure our fabric. So අපේ fabric procure කරන්න නැත්නම් in-house ගෙන්න ගන්න start කරනවා. So based on the PO තමයි අපි fabric in-house කරන්නේ. Since we are a B2B business, අපි business එකකින් තවත් business එකකට sell කරන model එකක් use කරන නිසා අපේ PO එක base කරන් තමයි අපි RM in-house නැත්නම් source කරගන්නේ. So that's the starting point. එතනින් එහාට what happens is when the RM is in-house, we bring it to our warehouse to do our inspection and storage. So that's the third step. So this is just a high level mapping of what happens for Nisala Garments to start their operations. So starting point එක PO, එතනින් ගියාම ඒක base කරන් අපි fabric in-house කරගන්නවා, and then අපි ඒකේ quality එක check කරනවා. So we saw අපේ value proposition එකේ Nisala Garments එකේ mission vision ඒ හැම එකම quality කියන එක highlight කරලා තියෙනවා, because Nisala Garments wants to make sure their output, their end product is of high quality. So they conduct an inspection at the point of in-housing their fabric or RM, and then they store it in their warehouse. So a step again passe, then what happens based on the requirement, if we are producing this batch or if we are producing this style, අපි ඒ in-house කරගත්ත RM ටික ගෙනියනවා cutting room එකට to make sure that the required style or the required design needs to be cut into the required pieces from the fabric. And එතනින් එහාට ගියාම අපිට මෙතන key point එකක් තමයි IE team and planning team will be involved at this stage. So planning team එක බලන okay මේ fabric එකෙන් අපිට කොච්චර pieces cut කරගන්න පුළුවන්ද, and ඒ ගහපු plan එක make sure කරන්න IE team will help with the technology, will help with the required resources. So they both will be involved in this stage. Then after the necessary pieces have been cut, we move into the sewing and assembly. So මේ shop floor එකේ important part එක, where the pieces of the fabric that have been cut will now be sewn into the final garment. So here there is a lot of more operations that happen, but for the time being we'll just look at it as one part of the process where අපේ cut කරපු pieces ටික will go through the sewing and the assembly line, where එතන I've given a bit of an intro where we have 6 lines in our garment factory and the efficiency that we currently achieve. So after the final garment has been sewn, it will go through a finishing process. So this is where there'll be like a final quality check. We will see if there are any damages, and then the quality team or the quality room will check based on the sample the customer has given, does our final garment match it? Are there any damages that has happened during the sewing process? Is this the quality that the customer wants? Are we happy to put this final product out? There can be instances where, you know, it comes through all of these processes, but it comes to finishing and quality and there are some damages. Maybe the color is not matching. Maybe there are some misprints. So this is again a very important step because it will decide how much of rework that we have to do. Where we work again on our finished garment, it's going to be an increased cost. But this is important because in our mission, vision, value proposition, everywhere we told that Nisala Garments wants to ensure that the products are of high quality. So high quality කියන එක very important අපේ business එකට. And then after the products go through that process, it will finally go into the packing and the dispatching. So methodically, there are again lot more internal processes where it needs to be packed properly, where it won't get damaged, and then sometimes it has to be packed in the way the customer wants. The customer will sometimes even say, use these type of packing materials. You know, the packing materials have to be something sustainable. These are real things that are happening in the industry. So requests like these or new information like this will come to you maybe in your on scene. So make sure this is also, it's not just putting everything to a box and sending it out, but there are a lot more internal processes where that needs to be, where there can be customer requests. And also we need to make sure at the point of this that we achieve on time delivery, because again we told that in our mission, vision, we want to make sure that we are very efficient and that we provide a good service to our customers. So our customers ලාට ඕනේ විදිහට ඕනේ requirement එකට ඒ service එක provide කරන්න නම් we have to make sure that we send the orders based on the day they want. So අපිට ඒගොල්ලෝ PO එක raise කරද්දී they will give us a commitment or they'll ask us to send the goods on this day. So the planner and all the other teams should make sure that all of these processes happen to make sure that at the end we hit the date that we committed in the beginning. So on a very high level, that's how the operations will be mapped at Nisala Garments. So if you go through your pre-scene, you will see this. They have explained how it happens. I've just put it in a very diagram to make it easier for y'all. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට take a visually දැක්කම ටක් ටක් ගාලා තේරුම් ගන්න මම මෙතන diagram එකක් use කරලා තියෙනවා. But apart from that, this is again given in detail in your pre-scene. So now let's look at some of the important stages of this process. අපි මේ කලින් බලපු process එකේ අපි බලමු වැදගත්ම දේවල් කිහිපයක්. So starting with the sewing line. මම කිව්වා ඉස්සෙල්ලත් sewing කියන්නේ it's sort of like the heart of the operations මෙතන. මොකද මෙතන තමයි අපේ final product එක final garment එක එළියට එන්නේ. So අපිට Nisala Garments එකේ දීලා තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලෝගේ factory එකේ දැනට 6 sewing lines operate වෙනවා. And ඒගොල්ලෝගේ full capacity එක optimal capacity එක බලුවොත් 4800 units units වල output එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් capacity එකක් ඒගොල්ලන්ට තියෙනවා. But ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ current output එක 4100 විතරයි. So 700 units per gap එකක් තියෙනවා. So they're not 100% efficient. There is a variance between the installed capacity and the current output. And අපි ගත්තොත් line එකක efficiency එක target එකක්. Efficiency එකක් කිව්වොත් කාර්යක්ෂමතාවය. කොච්චර input එකකින් කොච්චර output එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක ගත්තොත් target එක තියෙන්නේ 85% විතර. So මතක තියාගන්න here usually when it comes to industry that is very heavily dependent on labor, it's not realistic to put an efficiency of 100% or even 99% because we have to factor in a lot of things. There can be accidents happening, there can be downtime because at the end of the day they are people, right? It's not 100% machine driven factory flow. So an efficiency of 100% is usually unrealistic for a company like for the apparel industry. But if you take something that is 100% automated, maybe like the Toyota factory flow, or like the process that is being used to make BYD cars, they must be 100% automated, all using robotics and machinery. So at a point like that, where machines don't need brakes, they won't get injured, they won't don't want to use the washroom or something. So in a case like that, they can target for an efficiency of 100% or even something close to it. But especially when it comes to human labor, that is something unrealistic. So they have used a target of 85%. But out of that also, right now, our current actual efficiency is around 78%. And අපි ගත්තොත් rework rate එක එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි final garment එකක් හදලා ඒකේ මොන හරි quality issues damages identify කරා ඒක ආපහු rectify කරන එක ගත්තොත් අපි target එක තියෙන less than 2%. අපි ඇඳුම් 100ක් මැහුවොත් ඒකෙන් 2% වලටත් අඩුවෙන් තමයි අපි target කරන්නේ rework එකක් කරන්න ඕනේ. But ඇත්තටම ගත්තොත් there is about 4.5% of a rework rate. And also machine downtime. මෙතන machine downtime කියලා අපි කියන්නේ මේක වැදගත්. A very important KPI for the apparel industry or most of the industries where even machines have reasons to stop working, right? There can be some issue that come up, with the machine. It won't work as it used to be. There might be some issue caused for a missing part or a part that has worn out. So මේ වගේ realistic scenarios එන්න පුළුවන්. So එතකොට අපි ඒක measure කරන්නේ machine downtime එකෙන්. කොච්චර වෙලාවක් මේ machine එක වැඩ කරන්න නැතුව තිබ්බද? For how long did it not work or did it not contribute to the operation? So right now it's about 6 to 8%. So it's not a lot. Ek double digit එකක් වගේ ලොකු number එකක් නෙමෙයි. It's less than 10%, but still there is a machine downtime. So මේ වගේ දෙයකට තමයි මේවා issues solve කරන්න, මේ issues වෙන එක නවත්තන්න තමයි අපේ industrial engineering team එකේ ඉන්නේ. So they are the ones who look at the technical aspect to make sure that the capital that we use, especially in the apparel industry, the sewing machines, the cutting machines, that they work properly, that they check and see maintenance හරියට වෙලාද, මේව repair කරන්න ඕනේද, මේව replace කරන්න ඕනේද, මේවල parts මොන හරි අපි අලුතෙන් මේව කරන්න ඕනේද. So all of that is what they do, and still there can be some machine downtime, a time period where the machine is not 100% working or has been not contributing to the operations. So අපි ගත්තොත් this is a very basic look what a sewing line looks like. මේ වගේ තමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් sewing line එකක් තියෙන. ඔයගොල්ලෝ apparel industry එකට ගිහිල්ලා තියෙනවා නම් even on the TV or on social media you've seen this. You might have seen they usually sit on a line one behind the other. So where usually at the beginning a cut piece of fabric comes to the line and then it will go through different processes. One person won't sew the entire garment. එක්කෙනෙක් විතරක් ඉඳගෙන එක garment එකක්ම මහන cases scenarios හරිම අඩුයි. නැත්නම් it won't happen at all. What happens is each person contributes to a small part of the garment. One person ඉස්සරහම ඉන්න කෙනා maybe වටේ තියෙන මේව ටික මහයි. ඊට පස්සේ කෙනා maybe that next person will start stitching or working on the collar. The next person will work on the pocket. ඊළඟ කෙනා embellishments, trims ඒ වගේ මොන හරි තැනන work කරයි. So a garment will go through each and every person in the line, and at the end person will put out the finished garment. So that's how usually a line is being structured to make sure in a sewing operation, to make sure we get the final garment out. So sewing line එකට කලින් අපි දැක්කා අපේ fabric යනවා cutting room එකට. So this again is very important. It's a very important process. මොකද our main raw material is the fabric. That is our main raw material, and we know එක අපේ cost of goods ගත්තත් it comes to a big percentage, more than 50%. So a lot of our margin depends on it. A lot of our costs depend on it. So මේ fabric එක we have to make sure we make the maximum use of it. We have to put out the maximum number of garments using that one fabric. So cutting room making ගොඩක් ඒකට contribute වෙනවා. Why? That's the place where the fabric is being cut into smaller pieces. So අපි බලන්න ඕනේ wastage එක අඩුම, maximum use එක ගන්න පුළුවන් pieces කොහොමද අපි මේ fabric එකෙන් කපන්නේ කියලා. So again, the cutting room is something that's very important. So අපි ගත්තොත් cutting room එකක් කියලා what might come to your head is where there might be people with scissors, maybe even big scissors cutting these designs. But no, a cutting room usually looks like this. This is also, there is some human interaction in this picture where he is using a machine to cut it, and as you all can see මෙතන මේ fabric එක උඩ ගොඩක් stack කරලා තියෙනවා, and they cut it based on that. But now there are machines that operate without any human intervention. මේ වගේ labor කෙනෙක්වත් ඕනේ නැහැ. There are machines where it will operate on their own. You just have to feed the design in. Design එක අපි feed කරනවා machine එකට, and it will cut through the fabric. But we have to make sure that the fabric is laid out in a way that there is no wastage, that there are no quality issues, and the design is properly mapped out or marked to make sure that we make the optimum use or the maximum use of the fabric. So again, the cutting room is a very important part of the operations for this manufacturing process. Then for both of this, we look at the capacity and the labor. So අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අපිට දැන් customer orders තියෙනවා. We have to make sure we give it to them. So one of the two main things that are important to make sure that we have to give this committed order is our capacity. අපිට ඕනේ තරම් capacity තියෙනවද, and අපිට labor තියෙනවද. So usually on a normal day ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා Nisala Garments වල peak output එක about 4,439 units, and also normal labor hours about 2,000, and ඒගොල්ලෝ overtime ගියොත් 2,300 වගේ labor hours. And අපි ගත්තොත් productivity ඒගොල්ලෝ overtime කරද්දී per hour units අඩු වෙනවා. So usually අපි overtime කළා මොකද්ද බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ? We expect to produce more output or more finished garments. But අපිට case study එකේ කියනවා normal day, normal work hours වල employees ලා වැඩ කරද්දී for 2,000 hours අපේ per hour output එක about 2.05 garments. But ඒගොල්ලෝ overtime work කරද්දී අපේ මේ per hour rate එක 1.93 වලට අඩු වෙනවා. So ඇත්තටම ගත්තොත් අපි employees ට overtime work කරන්න කිව්වොත් අපේ per hour output එක අඩු වෙනවා. I mean, we might be producing more units. So you see overtime ගියොත් අපිට 4,439 units වගේ ගන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි අපි ඇත්තටම අපේ usual normal hours work කරොත් output එක 4,100. So yes, අපි වැඩිපුර output, there is an increase in output, but at the same time not the same efficiency. ඇයි අපි වැඩිපුර hours වැඩ කරත් per hour එළියට දාන output එක අඩුයි. So let's see why that is. Maybe there are some hidden reasons for this. maybe අපි දන්නවා අපේ දැන් මේ production එක dependent on employees, dependent on labor. So ඒ වගේ වෙලාවක may productivity drop වෙනවා කියන්නේ there can be some hidden reasons concerning employees. Maybe the employees are not happy, maybe they're not motivated, or they want something else to work more or overtime. So let's see when we do the detailed analysis why this is happening. I mean productivity එක අඩු වෙන්නේ overtime වැඩ කරද්දී. So එතකොට අපි ඇත්තටම overtime වැඩ කරලා අපිට ඕනේ objective එක achieve කරනවාද? Okay. And then we look at the number of employees also. The number of employees is very important because maybe, especially in the garment or the apparel industry, there are seasons and off seasons. So especially since this is a local company, maybe their season is during April and December for Auradu and Christmas. People do a lot of shopping. So these may be the peak seasons, and there might be off-peak seasons as well. So especially in a peak season, we can expect Nisala Garments to have more orders, huge bulks, or many number of styles. So ඒ වගේ වෙලාවකදී the planner should make sure that they plan to have the required number of workers to execute this. Then අපිට මෙච්චර orders ඇවිල්ලා, but if we don't have enough labor to execute it or to get the order done, then it's a waste. අපි customer commitment එකට promise batch එකට මේවා වෙන්නේ නැහැ. So we have to make sure that we plan the required number of workers. And right now we have about 250 direct employees who are working on the production. And අපි තව key point එකක් තමයි අපේ production process එක ගත්තොත් අපිට real time production data monitor කරන්න system එකක් නැහැ. අපිට දැන් කොච්චර output මහලද, දැන් කොච්චර machines වැඩ කරනවද, දැන් කොච්චර ඒව down timeද, lines කීයක් operate වෙනවද, ඒ real time information ගන්න අපිට සිස්ටම් එකක් මොනිටර් කරන සිස්ටම් එකක් නැහැ. So maybe machine එකක් නැවතිලා ටිකක් වෙලා ගියාට පස්සේ තමයි අපි දැනගන්නේ මේ machine එක නැවතිලා. So we will have to look into it. නැත්නම් ඒක solve කරන්න ඕනේ කියලා දැනගන්නේ ටිකක් වෙලා ගියාට පස්සේ, because we don't have real time data to see which machines are working, which machines are not. So ඒක නිසා වෙන්නේ නැති අපේ downtime rate එක high. Okay. Now with that, we'll go to the next part, which is on the financial performance. So this is also a very important section of the pre-scene. So as y'all can see, here I've looked at both our revenue and our gross profit margin. So අපි ගත්තොත් මෙතන we can see even in the pre-scene they say that we've been having steady revenue growth. Yes, there are no sudden peaks in our revenue. අපේ sales වල sudden increases, sudden drops නෑ. අපි දකිනවා steadily it had grown from the last 4 financial years. And also අපි ගත්තොත් gross profit margin has also been on a steady growth except for 2024. May financial year එකේදී we see a drop. මොකක්ද මේ drop එක? So in the case study it has clearly given this drop. May 27% drop එක cause the reason එක තමයි because of the currency depreciation. Local currency එක depreciate වෙලා and එතකොට අපේ fabric අපි budget කරාට වඩා expensive වෙලා. So එතකොට අපි මේවා import කරන නිසා අපේ මේ currency depreciation එකත් එක්ක direct hit එකක් තියෙනවා අපේ margin එකට. අපේ cost වැඩි වෙලා. අපි budget කරේ වෙන currency rate එකට, but ඇත්තටම අපි ගද්දි අපේ currency එක local currency එක depreciate වෙලා නිසා අපේ cost එක වැඩි. So අපේ margin එක hit වෙලා. හැබැයි අපි ගත්තොත් අපේ revenue එක it's steadily growing, but it's just the margin that was hit, and this was only just because of the impact to the fabric prices. අපේ fabric prices වල impact එක හින්දා තමයි අපිට මේ margin drop එක තියෙන්නේ. So අපි දැන් දකිනවා අර fabric කියන piece එක, fabric the RM, which it is very very important for Nisala Garments. So අපේ efficiency එක determine කරනවා, අපේ profitability එක determine කරනවා, අපේ costs මේවා කරන විදිහ determine කරනවා. So fabric is a very important raw material. This is mentioned. Make a mention වෙලා තියෙනවා කීපයක්ම තැන්වල අපේ pre-scene එකේ, and y'all also make sure to make a note that fabric is an important part of our raw materials and important to ensuring that we achieve our margins and our costs, because it's a huge proportion. එක ලොකු proportion එකක් අපේ costs ගත්තා. Okay. If brief financial performance summary can passe, we come to the ESG or the sustainability part of this pre-scene. නැත්නම් මේ case study එකේ හැමතැනම එක එක sustainability related topics disperse වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපි read කරොත් එක එක තැන්වල මේවා mention වෙලා තියෙනවා. So what I've done is a sustainability related topics I brought to one slide. We'll look at it one by one. අපි ESG pillars break down කරලා බලමු. මොනවාද මේ sustainability ගැන කතා වෙලා තියෙන එක එක important facts මොනවාද, and also මොන වගේ gaps ද අපි දැන්ට දකින්නේ. So මම last session එකේත් කිව්වා especially a company from the apparel industry is very prone to ESG risks, and also it has a huge impact. The industry or the company has an impact on the environment and the society, and also there's a lot of impacts from the environment and the society to the company. So mid depattama there are high impacts. So api gattot, if we start with the environmental pillar, the first pillar, we currently see that there are certain practices when it comes to sustainability. The first is that they monitor the fabric waste, and also so අපි fabric තමයි use කරන main RM එක, ඒ wastage එක කොච්චරද කියලා ඒගොල්ලෝ monitor කරනවා on a basis to see අපි අපේ wastage එක වැඩි වෙනවද අඩු වෙනවද, how can we make sure that we use the maximum. Then monitoring is happening, and also to make sure that we don't waste energy. Api godak electricity use කරන එක අඩු කරන්න they have put LED lighting, and also වැඩ කරන්න නැති එහෙම නැත්නම් use වෙන්නේ නැති machines shut down කරලා තියන්න they have put initiatives. And also ඒගොල්ලෝ බලනවා they monitor how much of water is used on a monthly or a monthly basis using the bills. So they don't check internally, but based on the bills they check. Somehow there is some checking that happens. So like again I told you in the last session, the apparel industry use a lot of water when it comes to its operations. And then also they have standardized the packing. ඒගොල්ලෝ standard method එකක් use කරන ඒගොල්ලෝගේ goods pack කරන්න, waste එක minimize කරන්න. So these are the current practices concerning the environmental part of the case. අපි මේක ගත්තොත් gaps මොන හරි අපි බලමු තව improvement points මොනවාද කියලා. First is ඒගොල්ලෝ real time energy usage එක measure කරන්නේ නැහැ. කොච්චර energy use වෙනවද කියලා right now measure වෙන්නේ නැහැ. But also monitoring වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලෝගේ data record කරන්නේ, ඒව review කරන්නේ, it's on a periodic basis but not continuously. And finally they don't have a formal sustainability report. ඒගොල්ලෝගේ මේ sustainability related information they do not report at the moment, meaning also they don't collect it and it's not formally done. So you all know with the SLFRS S1 and S2, and if it applies to when it applies to Nisala Garments, there is going to be a bit of gap. So that's why I wanted to highlight this. Coming on to the social pillar, let's see. So social පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් අපි දකිනවා they offer jobs. About 320 people are currently working with them. So the company is contributing to the society with the employment it provides, and also they comply with labor law, ETF, EPF. So they are compliant with these laws. කියන්නේ කොහෙම තැනකවත් they are not compliant කියලා. And also they have upskilling programs for sewing people who are doing the sewing. So මෙතන ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ training උත් company එකක් විදිහට ඒගොල්ලෝ training දෙනවා to make sure that the sewing machine operators become better at the job or they become more skilled. And also they have a school uniform donation program. So ඒගොල්ලෝගේ business strategy එකටම align වෙන something that goes hand in hand. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගිහිල්ලා මෙතන නිකන් food or එහෙමත් නැත්නම් something that's not related නෙමෙයි ඒගොල්ලෝගේ business model එකටම relate වෙන charity program එකකුත් දැනට ඒගොල්ලෝගේ තියෙනවා. But අපි ගත්තොත් improvement areas කොතනදවත් කියන්නේ නැහැ. There is a formal well-being framework. Employee well-being, employee satisfaction ගැන formal framework එකක් ඒගොල්ලෝ දාලා තියෙනවා කියලා කියන්නේ නැහැ. And another key point is employees overtime work කරද්දී අපි දකිනවා productivity එක අඩු වෙනවා. Units per hour is reducing when the employees are working overtime. So that can be a bit of a concern from a social point of view. ඇයි මේ කට්ටිය more hours වැඩ කරද්දී the productivity එක අඩු වෙන්නේ? Is there a reason behind this? Are they not happy? Are they tired? Is the necessary benefits or facilities not given? So that's something that's like a gap that we can see in the case study for the social point of view. And then governance පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් අපි දකිනවා අපිට approved supplier list එකක් ඉන්නවා. අපි හැමෝගෙම source කරන්න යන්නේ. අපිට approve වෙලා තියෙන, අපි quality එක check කරලා තියෙනවා, අපි අපේ compliance පැත්තෙන් බලපු supply list එකක් අපිට ඉන්නවා. And then also the payment process is transparent and there is monthly financial reporting. Now, even though we don't have sustainability reporting, we do have financial reporting where our financial KPIs අපි on a monthly basis review කරනවා. ඒක mention වෙලා තියෙනවා pre-scene එකේ. And then also tax regulations වලට අපි comply වෙනවා. අපි tax avoid කරන්න හදන්නේ. So far Nisala Garments is good on that as well. But gaps පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් අපි දකිනවා there is no independent risk management department. So අපිට internal audit, internal risk management ඒ පැත්තෙන් we don't have a committee or a separate team to drive that internal assurance to give the owner and our managing director assurance saying that okay, everything is going smoothly, everything is happening according to the relevant laws and regulations, and the internal controls are efficient. So assurance එක දෙන්න we don't have a separate ERM department, and we don't have a separate board or an independent committee to give that oversight. And finally, again, ESG documentation for customers is not there. That's a governance gap as well. Just like for sustainability, the sustainability report, ek governance gap එකක් විදිහටත් අපිට දකින්න පුළුවන්. So, these are the key points in terms of E, S and G sustainability පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් අපේ case study එකේ හැමතැනම mention වෙලා තියෙන. And also අපි ඒත් එක්කම අපි බැලුවා මොනවාද මේ gaps, මොනවාද මේ improvement points ඒගොල්ලන්ට maybe Nisala Garments can work on. So this is what I'm saying. When you're reading through the case study, don't just read through the facts they've given. So may uda boxes built in facts they've just given. But what you have to think is, hurry. What if, may wage dewal we don't have that. What are the things that are missing? So those are the things that you have to read the case study and understand and make notes while reading the pre-scene. Okay. So coming on to the last part, this is just a high-level mind map on the key points when it comes to Nisala Garments that you can use, as a short note as well. So here I've listed out the most important points coming under each and every topic for Nisala Garments. So technology එක පැත්තෙන් ගත්තොත් BC, we don't have an ERP system right now to integrate all the data. We don't have real-time production data, but we do have manual reporting, and it is also reviewed on a monthly basis. And also from a people point of view, I've added the most important points, the working capital, අපේ operational KPIs currently අපි මොනවාද achieve කරන්නේ, and then from a sustainability point of view, risk point of view and a cost point of view, all the key information is here that can be used as a mind map.